3 men came for me at 2 in the morning. I heard them before I saw them. Hooves crunching sand, leather creaking in the dark. The first one dismounted near my barn, torch in hand. I didn't hesitate. 1 shot, center mass. He went down hard. The other 2 wheeled around, but they were just shadows against starlight. Easy targets for a man who'd spent 4 years shooting Union cavalry. I dropped the second before he could fire. The third got off 1 shot that whined past my ear. I dove, rolled, came up shooting. Caught him in the shoulder. Then a gunshot cracked from the barn itself. The wounded man collapsed face first in the dirt. And standing in that doorway, no longer dressed in her nun's habit, was the woman who'd lied to me. The woman I'd saved 12 hours earlier, holding my Colt Navy with smoke curling from the barrel. Her arms steady and professional, but her hands were shaking. That's when I knew. Everything I thought I understood about right and wrong was about to get real complicated. Ever wonder what it's like to stand in a dry wash at dawn, shovel in hand, burying 3 men beside a woman you didn't know yesterday? A woman who lied to your face, saved your hide, and turned your whole damn world upside down? Pull up a stool by the fire, partner. What came next, blood in the dirt, betrayal in the dark, taught me more about sin, salvation, and scraping by than I ever wanted to learn. If you like stories where the line between saint and sinner gets real blurry, hit that like button. Subscribe for more tales from the wild frontier. The desert doesn't forgive liars. And that woman kneeling beside her dead horse 15 miles south of Tucson, dressed in a nun's black habit, rosary beads in her fingers, she was lying through her teeth. I knew it the second she looked up at me. She gave her name as Sister Maria, said her horse broke a leg on the way to a mission 40 miles east. But when she looked up, squinting against the sun's glare, her eyes didn't drop like a nun's should. They held mine, sharp as a blade, picking me apart like I was a mark in a saloon game. Something about that look made my skin prickle, and it wasn't just the desert heat. And when she spoke my name without me telling her who I was, I knew for certain something was wrong. Out here in the Arizona Territory, 1873, a beautiful woman's lie can kill you, just as dead as a bullet. I'd seen enough death already. Lost my wife 3 years back in a fire. The sheriff called an accident. Lost my faith in the war before that. I wasn't looking for salvation or trouble. But staring down at this woman with the setting sun, turning her face to copper and gold, I wondered if damnation had finally come looking for me. I gave her water without a word. In the desert, you watch how people drink. Desperate people gulp. Liars sip carefully. She sipped. I loaded her onto my horse behind me. When the mare stumbled, she grabbed my waist. Through my worn shirt, I felt the press of her body. Too warm. Too alive. Her fingers tightened. Not like a nun. Like a woman who knew exactly what a man's body felt like. We rode 2 hours in silence. By the time we reached my ranch, stars were pricking through the purple dusk. "You can sleep in the barn," I said. "I'll bring you supper." "You're very kind, mister." "Kindness got nothing to do with it. You die on my land, I gotta bury you. That's extra work." She smiled, a flash of something real beneath the pious mask. Honest man. Rare out here. Not as rare as honest women. When I brought her food, she was sitting on a hay bale, her veil removed. Dark hair pinned up in a way that suggested discipline, but hinted at wildness. The kind of hair a man could imagine coming loose. "Will you sit with me?" she asked. I leaned against the barn door, keeping distance. "You can say grace." But she fumbled it. Started wrong, hands folding wrong. Left over right instead of right over left. A small thing only a man who'd bunked with Catholics would notice. "You ain't no nun," I said quietly. She didn't flinch, just looked at me with those sharp eyes. No, I'm not. So who are you? Someone who needs your help. She stood, and even in that shapeless dress, I could see her curves, fabric pulling across her hips, collarbone where the collar gaped. She stepped closer. She stepped close, her voice low like she was sharing a secret. When you look at me, mister, what's it you're after? A prayer to save your soul, or something warmer to make you forget it? Her eyes held mine, daring me to answer, her breath catching just enough to betray her calm. The question hung in the air like smoke, thick, impossible to ignore. I felt my pulse kick up. 2 years of loneliness pressing down. The memory of my wife's cool skin the morning I found her dead. I don't know yet, I said, voice rough. But both are dangerous to a man who's got nothing left to lose. She studied me, then smiled with something like sadness. Good, she said, because men like you don't trust beautiful strangers. But you'll save a woman of God, even a fake one. She moved past me, sleeve brushing my arm. But tomorrow, you're going to help me anyway, because 3 men tried to kill me tonight, and they're coming back. And when they do, mister, you're going to want to know why. She disappeared into the night, leaving me with that question echoing. Do you seek my blessing or my body? Now you tell me, partner. What would you have done? Sent her away come morning? Or sat on your porch with a rifle, knowing it was already too late? Because at 2 a.m, those 3 riders came. After the shooting stopped, I stood in my yard with 3 dead men and a woman holding a smoking gun, trembling. You ever killed a man before? I asked. She shook her head. Not like this, where I could see his face. I took the gun from her hands. You did good. He was gonna shoot me. I know, we gotta move these bodies before sunup. We buried them in a wash 2 miles west. I worked the shovel while she kept watch. When we finished, covered in dirt and sweat, she finally told me everything. Her name was Lila Hartwell. Her daddy had a ranch fed by underground springs, water worth more than gold out here. 3 men wanted it, Granger, the banker, Holt, who owned the water rights, and Vance, pulling strings at the telegraph office. When her daddy wouldn't budge, they burned him out. House, barn, everything. Lila stared at the dirt as she spoke, her voice barely above a whisper, cracking on the edges. I was in Prescott, working for Pinkerton, she said, fingers twisting a loose thread on her sleeve. Got back to find nothing but charred timbers and his bones in the ash. She swallowed hard, like the words tasted of smoke. Pinkerton fired you. For pursuing a personal vendetta. She laughed bitterly. They were right. She looked different without the habit. Younger, harder. The kind of woman who'd learned to survive by being smarter than the men hunting her. Why'd you come to me? Because your ranch burned too. 3 years ago. Same pattern. She met my eyes. They're doing it all over the territory. Burning out ranchers, taking land for nothing. You were just another name on their list. Something cold settled in my gut. That fire. My wife's body. The sheriff calling it an accident. It had been murder. Why didn't you just tell me the truth? Because men like you don't trust strange women. But you'll save a nun. I needed you obligated before you knew what you were getting into. I don't like being used. I know. Her voice went soft. But I'm asking now. I need someone who understands what it's like to lose everything. The sun was rising. 2 people covered in dirt and blood, and I had a choice. One condition, I said. No more lies. Between us, just the truth. The truth, I promise. We shook hands, her palm warm and calloused against mine. That's how I rode straight back into trouble. We left at dusk for Tucson. The plan: break into Vance's telegraph office, steal the evidence, deliver it to Judge Porter in Yuma. Simple, except we could both get killed. We rode in silence. Lila wore borrowed men's clothes that fit her curves in ways that tested my focus. By midnight, cold enough that she pulled on my spare coat, drowning in it. We stopped to rest. I built a fire while she tended the horses, moving efficiently, like someone who'd done it 1,000 times. "Your daddy teach you that?" I asked. "Yeah," said women in the West had to do everything a man could do. Her smile faded. "Didn't teach me how to protect him, though. You can't be everywhere." I was good at my job, Pinkerton's best investigator, but I couldn't save my own father. We sat watching the fire. Then she took my hand, just her fingers threading through mine. Human connection. Two people carrying the same grief. She took my hand, her fingers rough from the trail, and whispered, "No lies now. When you look at me, what do you want? A woman to pray for you, or one to hold you through the night?" Her voice cracked, like she was scared of my answer, or maybe her own. I looked at her, saw the exhaustion, the vulnerability she was finally showing. "I'm looking for a partner," I said. "Someone who understands life out here, doesn't give blessings without a fight, and bodies without souls are just meat." She smiled. "That's a good answer." She leaned her head on my shoulder. We sat like that, watching the fire burn down, feeling less alone. No kiss. Not yet. But the promise hung between us. Inevitable. Dangerous. Worth the risk. We reached Tucson at 3 a.m. Vance's office sat above the general store. We crossed from the hotel rooftop, climbed through an unlocked window. Lila moved like water through the files. Found them within minutes. 15 ranches burned. Telegraph orders spelling out the conspiracy. "Got it," she whispered. Then we heard footsteps. A boy stood there, maybe 16, wearing an operator's vest. Eyes wide. I grabbed him, hand over his mouth. Lila drew her Colt. "You saw us," she said, voice cold. "You're going to tell them." The boy shook his head frantically. "You'll talk," Lila continued, cocking the hammer. "I can't let that happen." "Lila, he's just a kid. He'll report us. We'll hang. So you're gonna murder a boy to get revenge?" Her gun didn't waver, but I saw the tremor in her jaw. "They killed my father," she whispered. "And you want to be like them?" I tightened my grip on the shaking boy. "Don't lose your soul for this." For 5 endless seconds she stood frozen, gun raised, then she lowered it. "Run," she told him. "Go home." I released him and he ran. Lila stood trembling. Then she made a sound, half sob, and I caught her. She cried against my chest. Silent, shaking tears held back for months. "You did the right thing," I murmured, "but now they'll know. We've got the evidence, and you kept your conscience. That's victory enough." You ever watch someone choose their soul over revenge? It's beautiful and terrible. We holed up in an abandoned copper mine 12 miles out. Sent the evidence with a trusted farmer to Judge Porter. 3-day journey. But Vance didn't wait 3 days. He came at sunset with 6 hired guns. I saw them from the mine entrance, silhouettes against the red sky. Vance in the lead, silver-haired, black vest, calm expression. "Miss Hartwell, let's talk like civilized people." "He just wants us to step out so he can shoot us," I muttered. "So what do? We fight. Fast and brutal." I took the north window while Lila climbed through the mine shaft, coming up behind them. She shot 2 men clean before Vance spotted her. His bullet caught her shoulder. She went down hard. I saw red. I came out like something feral, all the grief and rage channeled into pure violence. Shot one, tackled another, beat a third with my rifle. When I reached Vance, I ripped his gun away and threw him down. He looked up at me, blood on his face, and smiled. Go ahead. Prove you're just like me. I stood over him, rifle aimed at his head. Behind me, Lila dragged herself close, clutching her bleeding shoulder. Kill him, she gasped. For my father. For your wife. My finger tightened on the trigger. So easy. Then I thought about that boy, about Lila lowering her gun, about choosing conscience. I lowered my rifle. No. Why? Because you chose not to kill that boy. You chose conscience over revenge. Now I'm choosing the same. We're not murderers. We're people looking for justice. I tied Vance up and waited for the marshal. Lila stared at me like she'd never seen me before. Then she smiled through tears. You're a better man than I am. Nah, just learned from a better woman. You think I made the right call, friend? I don't know. All I know is that night, I chose to be the kind of man who could still look her in the eye come morning. A week later, Judge Porter made the evidence public. Granger was arrested. Holt was killed by Apache raiders while fleeing. Vance was sentenced to hang, but killed himself in his cell with poison, leaving a letter. Miss Hartwell, you won. Your father was a good man. He died because good men always die first in this territory. You two are luckier. Keep that luck. Lila burned it, but the word stayed. Judge Porter pardoned us both, but our names were known. The couple who'd taken down the Tucson corruption ring. Pinkerton wanted Lila back. Supervisor position in Chicago. Good money, safety, civilization. Or stay in Arizona with me. Hard life, danger, uncertainty. I didn't push. Just said, I can't promise you easy. The ranch is small. The desert's harsh. I'm not a romantic man, but I promise I'll never lie to you, and I'll protect you with my last breath. She smiled through tears. For the first time, I don't want a promise of safety. I want a promise that's real. You just gave me that. So you're staying? I'm staying. We rebuilt together. Small house, but solid. 20 head of cattle. Lila learned to cook, badly, but I ate it. I learned to smile, to touch her without fearing she'd disappear. 3 months later, at sunset on our porch, she looked at me with that look that made my chest tight. She stood on our porch, sunset painting her face, and her voice trembled. One last time, with nothing between us. What are you chasing when you look at me? My heart to keep you steady, or my touch to make you feel alive? Her hand tightened in mine, like she was holding on for dear life. I pulled her close, arms around her waist, lips an inch from hers. Both, Lila Hartwell. I seek both. Why both? Because your blessing is why I believe in tomorrow. You taught me good people still exist, that conscience matters, that a man can choose mercy and survive. I cupped her face. And your body is why I want to live long enough to see that tomorrow. Why I wake up every morning and feel alive for the first time in 3 years. My voice dropped. I seek both, soul and flesh, blessing and desire. The woman who chose mercy, the woman who stood beside me, bleeding and brave. I want all of you, and that's why I'll never let you go. She kissed me then, desperate and hungry, and full of all the loneliness we'd both carried. My hands tangled in her hair. Her fingers dug into my shoulders. When we broke apart, she whispered against my mouth, "Then don't let go. Never." I carried her inside. The door closed. A lamp flickered in the window as the sun set. 2 shadows merging into one. For the first time since the war, since my wife's death, I felt something like peace. That's how it went, friend. How a woman in a nun's habit, lying through her teeth, and a rancher with nothing left to lose, found something worth holding on to. Revenge could have eaten us alive, but we clawed our way to something like justice, maybe even love. Am I a good man? Hell, I've got blood on my hands. 5 men dead, a telegraph office torn apart. But when it came down to it, I didn't pull that trigger on Vance. Stood there, rifle shaking in my grip, and chose mercy instead. Don't know if that makes me decent. Just know it. Let me sleep at night, with her breathing soft beside me. All I know is this. Out here, the only thing more dangerous than a lie is the truth. And the only thing more powerful than revenge is choosing to let it go. Lila and I built something real on that ranch. We had hard years and good years. Lost cattle to drought, fought off claim jumpers, raised hell when we had to, and made love under the stars when we could. She never stopped being dangerous, never stopped being beautiful, never stopped challenging me to be better, and I never stopped seeking both, her blessing and her body, her soul and her fire. Because that's what love is out here, friend. It's not soft or easy. It's choosing someone when it's dangerous, staying when it's safer to run, fighting for something worth more than gold or revenge. It's waking up next to someone who knows your worst sins and loves you anyway. If this story moved you, hit that like button. Subscribe for more tales from this wild frontier. Leave a comment telling me where you're listening from. Are you in some city far from this desert? Or somewhere wild that understands the weight of these choices? Because out here, the only thing more dangerous than a lie is the truth. And the only thing more powerful than revenge is choosing to let it go. Until next time, partner, may your choices be honest, your aim true, and your heart brave enough to seek both blessing and body when you find someone worth keeping.